Hello, welcome back to Parkitect. What on earth is going on? What are all these people running around for? That's because I forgot to close the park, and I'll go and round them up in a little while. But where's all the rides? What happened to the steel coaster that we built last time? Well, honestly, I don't know. I came on and the save file's gone. I've let the guys know with a little email. But yeah, you know, it's one of those things, playing a game in alpha, that kind of happens, I guess, so we're starting again, I'm afraid. But I'm kind of glad about it, because I wasn't too happy with where the previous part was going, because although we started off quite nicely with our main street, the theming kind of went out the window a little bit, and I wasn't really putting the effort in to the scenery, and really, in my opinion, that's where these games really come into their own. And after playing Planet Coaster quite a bit over their alpha weekend, it really sort of made me think about how much you can do with theming and with scenery. So we're starting again. So I've opened up a little path there, and here this is going to be a multi-purpose building. It's going to be a sort of kind of basically a ticket booth, really. Is where you would come into the park, although I can see there is one there. We've kind of decided to build our own as well, so they can walk through there. There's a couple of information booths in it, but also you'll see that the top of it there is a station, and that's going to be a monorail station. So not only is it the entrance to the park, it's also where the monorail sits. Again, this is very similar to a lot of parks. I know Disney Magic Kingdom has a monorail. Well, actually, the monorail goes into the park there, so it's a little bit different to this. And Alton Towers in the UK also has a monorail that takes you from the car parks to the park. Both of them sort of appear. Oh my word! I don't know what's happened there. I may well have tabbed out. So yeah, here we go. So we started, and I've also figured out the controls a little better, which means I can do a little bit more with the pillars here. If those of you are wondering, if you hold down Alt, you get yourself the grid there, and then your number keys change the size of the grid, and if you press the number key again, it will change between the item being in the center of the grid or on the corner of the grid. And that's how you decide where you're going. You'll see I get a little error message popping up there. I'm not too sure what it is. I hope I don't lose this, but I've now started making a backup of it as well. Looks like I've tabbed out again. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully I'm not there long. Oh, I am, my word. Let's cut. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so there we go. So we're building this up now. I've gone for sort of like a castle base, but it's not going to be a castle build at all. The stone here is purely just sort of like a foundation type level, and then here we've got some walls, and I've realised that you can do quite a lot of decoration with the walls by sort of placing over parts over and top of it again. And again, this, I know I keep talking about Planet Coaster, this comes from Planet Coaster, where you realise that because they don't have much clipping, you can do a lot of this stuff. So basically, because they're the scenery items at least have very little what's the word I'm trying to think of? Collision detection. You can overlay them a lot, and you can make these sort of really quite interesting Tudor type buildings using the archways, using the doorways, using the windows, using the borders and things like that to sort of build up the walls there. So basically, we're going to start with this. I don't actually... Oh, I build the monorail out, just basically make a circle of it, because I was trying to get it to run purely for the thumbnail, if I'm honest with you. I wanted the monorail to come and get the building for the thumbnail, but I couldn't figure it out. It keeps saying it needs another entrance. I think the way this game works is that transport rides genuinely work as transport, which, if it does, is fantastic. The reason I say that, in the games that this is very heavily inspired by, things like Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2, transport rides were purely aesthetic in the way that they didn't actually work as transport. People would ride them just for fun and they would enjoy them, but the guests' AI wasn't able to figure out that if they wanted to be on the other side of the park, it would be easier for them to get the monorail and get off 2 stations down than it would be to walk over there. They weren't able to do that. The same with the chairlifts and miniature railways and things like that. So hopefully, I think, seeing as it's telling me it needs another entrance, I've got a feeling that that means it actually works as an entrance, as a transport ride. Which, if it does, it's fantastic. Trying to do a sort of quite tiered roof here, because there's some wall slopes, but none of the roofs fit that slope. I realised later on that the slope does fit perfectly up against the angle of the path, which I think is why the piece exists, but I would kind of like a slightly more sloped roof so you can do a little bit more interesting sort of alcoves and things with the roofing structure. Instead, I've gone for a regular sort of flat roof here with like a little piece added up on top. Looks almost a little Mediterranean, to be honest, but we just tidy that up there and do the similar sort of thing to the walls like we did lower down. So yeah, there you go. I've also put some water in as well in a little while. You can see the people running around. I didn't realise that I had it running at 3 speed here. Obviously, this is super fast because I've sped it up, but the actual game was running at 3 speed, and I was thinking, God, it just rains all the time. This park is definitely in England because all it does is piss it down. But I realised afterwards that it's because I've got it running at the 3 speeds there. What am I doing here? Some archways. Trying to figure out how best to work the station in. Obviously, I didn't really have a roof that fit this little bit that I'm working on here, so I decided to go for like a flat roof and almost do it like not a balcony, I guess, because there's no access to it, but more just sort of like just to sort of change the roof structure up. And I'm really happy with how this turned out in the end. I think it's probably the best thing I've built in the game so far. The other thing I found out with the last save file was the main street that I sort of duplicated from one of the in-game screenshots. Turns out that's actually a build by Silverette, who I'm sure if you found me, you know who Silverette is, because he does some fantastic stuff in both this game and Planet Coaster, and in previous games like Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 and things like that. Turns out the developers asked him to make a park that they could use as like a demo park for things. So, and I didn't really like the fact that I was using a park that was made by somebody else, technically, you know. So that's another reason why I'm kind of happy with the fact that we're restarting. Here I'm just adding a little bit more of the castle base there, just to give an entrance way to the entrance and the exit. I didn't go all the way around the queue though. I kind of like the fact that that was relatively open. Although I might tidy up around the bottom of the queue rail rather than just having the pillars come down. We might do that later on. Also placed inside that building, as well as 2 info kiosks, there's now a toilet and an umbrella store. One thing I keep forgetting with this game is that the info kiosks don't sell umbrellas, which they always did in Roller Coaster Tycoon, and because this game has got such a similar sort of aesthetic, it's making me think it's the same sort of game. Here we've got a 3-wide path coming in, and frankly I just wanted to sort of make it a little bit more interesting, so I found these cool hedges and did a sort of interesting design with them, and a bit of what's that called? Topiary as well. Some more flower options would be nice. They've just sort of got a simple square flower bed of flowers at the moment, so that would be more interesting if they could do a few more of those. And we do not a river, because I have that bit of flower in the middle, but 2 little lakes there that eventually probably will join up at some point and become a wider thing. But for now, at least, it's just to break it up. I love how the water looked in this game. I know it's obviously very stylised, the whole game is very stylised, but I love the way the water looks and how it sort of ripples. And also I go back into the water in a moment and place a load of rocks around the water edge, and how they sort of sit in the water I think is fantastic as well. What I tried to do here was use very big rocks and lower them down. It turns out they just completely went underground, but they do have smaller rocks. The big rocks and lowering them down is an artifact from playing Planet Coaster, because that's kind of what you have to do in that if you want small rocks at the moment. But these guys do have small rocks. In fact, most of their rocks are actually scalable, which I think is a fantastic idea. Something I'd love to see carried over in some other games. So we do a series of rocks around the edge there, and some bulrushes as well that look great. But just how the water sits up against that rock, I think it just looks so cool. Here we go. We add in it's toilets and an information and an umbrella. There you go. So that's kind of it. There we go. I'm just sorting out the monorail here. I drag it round, and like I say, this is purely just to try and get the thumbnail, but unfortunately it didn't work out. So the monorail's sitting there. That's obviously not how it will look. Eventually we'll carry it around the park and have a few different stations once we get into the few different sort of themed areas of the park. Here's me trying to do a second station and failing completely. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Sorry we lost the last part, but hopefully you'll agree that this is a much better start for our park. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.